According to the WWF, up to 12.7 million tons of plastic waste enter the oceans every year. That corresponds to about 1 truckload per minute. Among other things, straws are the most commonly found marine litter. 36.4 billion straws end up in the ocean every year. Yes, you heard that right, 36.4 billion straws end up in the ocean every year. However, the scale of the catastrophe is much greater. In Germany alone, around 4 billion straws end up in the trash every year. In the EU, there are even 36.4 billion straws that end up in the garbage every year. And the US, of course, tops them all, 182 billion straws annually. That's 500 million straws a day. Humanity is a garbage billionaire. Billions of pieces of plastic are floating in the sea, and these disposable straws are one of the culprits. So it is no longer just countless fish that are roaming the world's oceans, but a very special species has developed, the common plastic waste. It's time to change that. But how can we prevent billions of straws from ending up in the trash every day? To find a solution to this problem, let's first look at the considered alternatives. There are really only 2 big groups. One is the disposable straws, made of bioplastic or paper, for example. And then there are the reusable straws, made of stainless steel or glass, among other things. First of all, to the disposable straws. And they all have one problem in common. They consume a lot of energy and raw materials in their production, and once used, they end up in the garbage. Let's start with paper straws. They look eco-friendly, but they aren't. Because paper has the natural property that when it comes into contact with liquids, it becomes soft. And that is why these straws are treated extremely, mechanically and chemically. This means high energy consumption in production and the use of chemicals. There are 2 independent studies, one by the University of Florida, one from the Stiftung Warentest, and they both prove that these chemicals dissolve in warm drinks, but also in alcoholic drinks, and that you then practically drink them. And some of these chemicals can cause cancer. On top of that, these stabilizers, these adhesives, also ensure that the paper becomes so hard that it can no longer be recycled, which means that these straws are then sorted out in the recycling plants and have to be burned. In addition, wood is always needed for the production of paper, so trees are needed. And to be honest, drinking out of paper just doesn't taste that good. Now let's look at straws made from bioplastic. Organic? That always sounds really good, but not everything that says organic on it also is organic. This straw here, for example, has a normal plastic content of up to 70%. Manufacturers claim these products are biodegradable, but that is only partly true because studies show that during the decomposition process, the plastic content is invisibly released into the environment as micro and nanoplastics. In addition, for the production of the biological part, you usually need sugarcane or other grain, which again means agricultural land, irrigation, and fertilizers. That means chemicals. What's more, they are simply not recyclable. And what about those edible straws made from pasta or leftover apple peels? That actually sounds quite reasonable. Shouldn't cause a lot of garbage either. There's just one problem. When you drink, you don't always eat the straw. You just want to enjoy your drink. This means that if you don't cook and eat such a noodle afterwards, it's a waste of food. We did the math. Roughly, if the US would switch from plastic straws to noodle straws, at their consumption of 500 million straws a day, they could feed noodles to 20 million people every day. And it doesn't look much better with straws made from leftover apple peels. Apple peels may not be eaten by humans, but they are animal food, so they can be used elsewhere. So, wasting food is the big issue. And then, of course, there is the large energy consumption to keep such straws stable, so that they do not become limp when they come into contact with liquid, and that they are tasteless. In order for that to work, again, much effort and a lot of energy is needed. The ecological balance of such straws is even worse than that of plastic straws. So we see, disposable drinking straws, no matter what material they are made of, cannot be environmentally friendly. One way is no way. So now let's look at the reusable straws. And there are many different materials. There is silicone, stainless steel, bamboo, or glass. But the real question is, why are restaurants using reusable cutlery but disposable straws? And why do we all use reusable forks and knives or crockery at home, for example, but disposable straws? Well, the answer is very simple. Because reusable straws are difficult to clean. Many manufacturers promise that the drinking straws can be cleaned well in the dishwasher. But in the dishwasher, the water does not get deep enough into the straw, which means that the entire middle part is not cleaned properly, and therefore a microcosm gets created. The bacteria can multiply properly, and that is why some manufacturers supply these brushes here, with which you can clean the drinking straws. But who does that when the restaurant is jam-packed every day? And that's why we took the trouble to cut open one of those drinking straws after a few years of usage in catering. And it looks like this inside. And I certainly won't drink anything out of this straw. But even if you were to clean the drinking straws properly after each use, there is one thing the brush cannot do. It cannot dry the inside. Moisture compresses and thus develops a life of its own. Keywords: germs and bacteria. And something else happens with moisture. Limescale can build up. These limescale deposits can be seen particularly clearly here on the glass drinking straws. But what does it look like, the perfect solution? The hygienic, practical and sustainable drinking straw? The Berlin design office Emami Design has faced all these challenges and found a simple yet ingenious solution, the SliderStraw. After drinking, the straw can be divided into two halves, and like this, it is easy to be cleaned by hand or in a dishwasher. This means that the inside of the drinking straw can be cleaned and dried without leaving any residue, just as hygienically as the cutlery. The material consists of PP, it is 100% recyclable, without toxic substances, and of course, absolutely tasteless. And as you can see, when you slide it in and out, there are no complex hinges or grooves. Thus, the entire surface is without any predetermined breaking points and dirt traps. It can be reused at least several thousand times. Despite everything, the SliderStraw alone will not be able to save the world. But a long journey also consists of small steps. And if we don't change anything now, it's possible that in 35 years there will be more plastic in the sea than fish.